Okay.
Hare Krishna. So we have a special guest here today. So we'd just like to ask you who you are, what you do, and where you come from.
Hare Krishna, my name is Nrsingha Kavaca. My service in ISKCON is to try to encourage and inspire devotees in deity worship. And currently I'm living in Melbourne, Australia, where we're graced by the presence of Kadamba Swami and his Krishna Kirtan Das. What else should I say?
Why is it you do this service?
Yeah, I like it basically. I like doing this service. I like to talk about deity worship. I like to do deity worship. I like to see others, getting inspiration and satisfaction from worshiping the deities.
So you keep mentioning the word deities. Can you kind of explain what a deity is?
Well, without being too technical, a deity is an authorized representation of the Supreme Personality. But not actually representation, incarnation. Describes in the scriptures that there's 5 incarnations of the Lord, and one of those incarnations is the archer, or the deity form of the Lord. So the deity in the temple, whether it be Radha Krishna, Gauranga, Jagannath, whatever, these are authorized incarnations, not just authorized, but reincarnations of Krishna. And by engaging in deity worship, we get the opportunity to interact with Krishna directly, to serve him, to bathe him, dress him, to do so many different things for his pleasure. And by doing this, we're able to develop our spiritual awareness. We develop spiritually. We actually become more Krishna conscious, become more purified through the process of deity worship. We also enables us to develop a relationship with Krishna directly because we're engaging in service to the personality of Godhead.
Now, that being said, Srila Prabhupada, our teacher, he's told us famously, if you really want to please me, distribute my books. So there's so many services to do within ISKCON. Per se, we could say book distribution, managing projects, preaching programs, cooking, and deity worship. Maybe not that one is more important than the other, but Srila Prabhupada stressed this point about book distribution. Why is it that one should stay behind and worship a deity then in that case?
Prabhupada would often say that, this service is our most important work, that service is our most important work, etc. like that. And in reality, it's not that one service is more important than another, because all the services need to go on. Just like, some may say, well, book distribution is our most important work, but then somebody has to do all the various functions that support book distribution, such as going and doing the printing work and laying out the books and transporting the books and putting them in the warehouse and giving the book distributors. So there's so many things that have to go on there to facilitate that service. Someone's cooking prasadam, someone's cleaning the temple, etc., etc. But also for the book distributors to come back to the temple and see the deities beautifully worshipped, gorgeous worship, beautiful decoration, etc. like that, is also very inspiring for the book distributors, and it gives them enthusiasm in their service. So all the services are actually very important, not that we think that one service is more important than another. And in the ultimate sense, all the services are absolute, so they all have their place, they all have their importance, and we get benefit no matter what service we're doing for Krishna. More importantly is the consciousness with which we do the service rather than the actual service itself.
Very nice, thank you. And you're speaking mainly to a young audience, people under the age of 30, unmarried people. Why at this point should we be taking, and also, generally speaking, the audience you're speaking to uninitiated and therefore unable to go to the temple and worship the deity there. What advice could you give them, and why is it important to take up some sort of deity worship at a young age?
Well, I think particularly for devotees who are unable to worship in the temple, then I encourage them to have an altar at home. But just a simple altar with pictures of the spiritual masters, Prabhupada and the other members of the Guru Parampara, and Panchatattva. And worship, the reason I encourage this is because this worship is very simple. You don't necessarily you don't have to bathe and dress the deities, just simply to have a kirtan and maybe offer them a flower or something like that every day. It's something very simple. It helps us it helps us in so many ways actually. It helps us in our personal regulation. It helps us in developing a relationship with Krishna. It helps us in our personal purification. Gives us a point of focus. I mean, the list is just unlimited. We can offer prasad there. We can have kirtan at home. We can chant out japa in front of the deities. There's so many things there that an individual devotee will get so much benefit from just by having the worship in their home. And of course, we develop a relationship through this regular exchange with the Lord in his deity form, whether it be in a picture or three-dimensional forms such as deities, like brass deities or whatever. Through this regular exchange we actually develop a relationship with Krishna, and we start to understand how the deity Krishna is a person, and that we can have a personal relationship with him.
And you're talking about the consciousness in which one performs their service. So in terms of deity worship, can you advise us, through your many years of experience and seeing many people serve the deity, in which mood and consciousness is most effective and conducive for advancing in spiritual life when serving a deity?
In my realization, it's the same consciousness in whatever service we're doing. And that's the verse by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Trinada Pisani Chaina Tavodi Vasahishana Amanina Manadina Kirtanya Samanahari. That one should think oneself low in the straw in the street, more tolerant in the tree, be devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to offer all respects to others without expecting any respect ourselves. This is actually the most important consciousness we can develop, and that's going to assist us in any service we do. Not that I'm thinking that I'm a big important book distributor, I'm the greatest pujari, or I'm the best manager or anything like this, but actually I'm just a servant of the lotus feet of the maintainer of the devotees. And this is the service attitude, just to be enthusiastic. As we see that Rupa Goswami explains, he says, enthusiasm, patience, perseverance. These things are very, very conducive for developing pure devotional service. So whatever service we do, the service attitude is essentially the same. The consciousness we need to have is essentially the same.
And what happens is sometimes, especially early on, when one's worshipping the deity, there is a tendency for it to be slightly business minded, in terms of you're thinking, I'm waving this around Krishna, very nice, and at the same time I've got my exam coming up, so you add an extra 2 incense sticks to the bundle, you make a slightly larger ghee lamp, so there's that kind of business aspect to it. It's not pure. Should one carry on, or should one check themselves?
There's a statement in the second canto, in the 3rd chapter, where it says, Akama, Savakama, Va, Mokshakama, Dhyayadihi, Tivrena, Bhakti Yogena, Yajeta Purusham Brahm. That whether one is full of material desires, without material desires, or desiring liberation, one should by all means approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So maybe we do have some material desires. Obviously we know that that's not ideal, but if we do have material desires, the best way to become purified of those desires is to approach Krishna. So if we approach Krishna to fulfill our material desires, it's much better than approaching a demigod to fulfill material desires. But as I'm saying, obviously we understand that it's better not to have material desires.
And so this nicely wraps up a short interview with His Grace Nrsingha Kavaca Prabhu from Australia. He spends most of his time in Mayapur on deity worship, so we'd like to thank him very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.